Good morning. Welcome to this year's Aura Insight Impact Awards seminar. Thank you for joining us. It's 11 o'clock on Thursday, the 10th of September. I'm Tom Kerr, Treasurer of Aura, and I will be your host today. This is the second of three sets of presentations in which we are showcasing case studies from the finalists of this year's Insight Impact Award. The first of our trio of presentations is from Samuel Carter, Head of P&G Business Performance at the England and Wales Cricket Board, and Conrad Kalau, Partner at Craft Research. The title of the presentation is Safeguarding the Future of Cricket. The ECB, in conjunction with the BBC and Sky, launched a new competition, the 100, to preserve and grow the game of cricket by reaching out to a younger, more diverse audience. You are about to hear how the ECB set about building 8 new team identities around which fan bases could be built from scratch. The presentation will last for 20 minutes, after which there will be a 10-minute question and answer session. So put your questions into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And before I hand over to our presenters, can I just remind you that you will be scoring the presentations today. At the RAF Club, we would normally use paper. Today we're using Zoom polling. So please give each presentation star ratings out of 5 in readiness for the poll. The winner of this and all of this year's awards will be announced in the award ceremony at 4 p.m. this afternoon. So that's enough for me. I'm now going to hand over to Samuel to take us through the presentation.
Thanks very much, Tom, and good morning, everyone. As you said in the introduction, my name is Samuel Carter, and I work for the England and Wales Cricket Board. That is what ECB is for, and I'm delighted to be here today to share a little bit about a partnership that we had with Craft on an insight project that really underpinned one of the most exciting things we've ever tried to do as a game. And I'm very pleased to say that I've got Conrad here as well with me, who can explain a bit more about some of the detail. And we're very honoured to be nominated for a piece of work that we think has been completely revolutionary in terms of what we were doing on this massive project. So to start off a little bit about the ECB. So we are the custodians of everything for cricket currently. So that means that we run everything from the 7 England teams for men, women and disability through to the 2 million people that choose to pick up a bat and a ball each year. We look after the 10 million fans that we have of the game in this country, and all the way through to our 80,000 volunteers that steward at professional matches and make the teas on a Saturday. Now, in recent years, cricket has really continued to grow from strength to strength. It's the second most popular team sport globally, and in this country as well. We're currently the World Cup champions for both men and women in the 50 over format, something we're extremely proud of. And on a more recent note, we were very privileged to be allowed to be the first international sport back playing again. And we're very grateful that the government gave us an opportunity to bring back the first recreational sport in this country post-COVID. However, as a game, we do struggle to attract a new fan base because much of what fans of cricket see as its great strengths can be real barriers to entry for new fans. Cricket to a fan is seen as something you invest your time in. You take a friend, you take a picnic, you spend all day talking about not just the cricket, but more than the cricket. To a non-fan, it can appear like we can spend 5 days playing a game and still not have a result, or that our shortest format is only 4 hours long. It's recognised by both current and non-fans that cricket is a hugely strategic game. There are a number of different variables and tactics and strategies involved, but this can be very off-putting and it can come across as very complex. One of the trickiest questions you can get from a person at their first cricket game is, well, who's actually winning? Which can be quite difficult to answer. And finally, cricket is played in a certain way. It is played in a spirit. It's very important that cricket could and should be played. Now, this can give us a real perception of being quite elitist, quite traditional, and quite curmudgeonly in our ways. Now, if you overlay on top of this a number of societal changes that are going on at the moment, recreational team sport is generally declining. You have less people participating in team sports as they spend more time taking part in individual physical activity. You've got society changing in terms of becoming a more urban population. More people than ever before are living in urban areas, more than 85% of the current UK population, and that's only increasing. And technology has brought a fantastic array of opportunities to sport, in terms of Hawkeye, DRS, things like that. But also it's brought all sport from around the globe into the pockets of fans. It's never been easier to be an MMA fan or to follow Mongolian wrestling if that's what you want to do. But what we're left with is a strong fan base that is threatened by an existential threat that will become less and less relevant with younger fans and with sporty families. So at the ECB, we came up with a radical proposition that would allow us to connect more people together through cricket. We would create a new tournament, a tournament that was based around just 8 teams, fewer than the 18 which most of our current cricket operates around, to create a stronger narrative in terms of the competition and to create greater tribalism between the competitors. We would present it in a way which made it much easier to follow for an entry-level fan, someone fresh out of the gate at their first game. And from the start, it was important to us that everything would be on a level playing field between men and women, equal prize money, equal number of games, etc. Now, key to making this success was creating 8 teams that people actually wanted to follow. We needed to create 8 tribes from a blank sheet of paper. More than that, we needed to understand what the communities in which we were going to stage these tournaments as, how they saw themselves, what they would consider to be their identity in Manchester or in Birmingham. It was easily one of the most complicated and deepest questions I've ever attempted to answer, with a very complicated brief. And so we turned to craft.
Thanks very much, Samuel. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we did before handing back to Samuel, who will take you through the impact. So we were very excited to receive, as Samuel said, a complex, complicated, difficult, but incredibly stimulating brief, which initially was around inspiring the creation of the team brands that Samuel mentioned a little earlier. All with a view to meeting the ECB strategic audience and business objectives for the competition, in appealing to younger, more diverse urban audiences, importantly across big regions. And that was one of the main challenges of this research, was that, for example, the Leeds-based team would have to appeal from the very south of Yorkshire all the way up to Tyneside and beyond, east of the Pennines. So while the team would be based in Leeds, the fan base needed to coalesce around an identity that resonated in a vast region, and that was true for almost all of the 8 teams that we were trying to build. It's important to say as well that when we talk about team brands, we're not just talking about branding, so not just the look and the feel, the visual identity, but we're talking about identity, brand behavior, tone of voice, all those kinds of things. Another challenge was that while we were looking to appeal to younger and more diverse urban audiences, the job here was to broaden and grow the audience for the game, not to just tap into a new one. So that means focusing brand building on non-cricket fans and younger, more diverse audiences, but ensuring that those brands also appeal more broadly and to current fans as well. Over time, the scope of this grew. We were sitting on a vast data set by the end of this project, and that data set helped us to inform the development of the competition as an event, the competition master brand, and even beyond that, wider ECB strategy in terms of targeting this particular audience that would help grow the game. So, we like to operate with a founding principle for every project, if you want, an intellectual touchstone. This one came from something that was quite salient in my academic background. We used Benedict Anderson's concept of imagined community. So the quotation here explains what that is. A community is imagined because the members of even the smallest nation will never know most of their fellow members, meet them, or even hear of them, yet in the minds of each lives the image of their communion. Anderson's treatise is about nation building and how that is actually a cultural project. We might, in 2020, we might call that an exercise in brand building. And what we were looking for were these scaled, shared aspects of identity formation, values, narratives, iconography, that connect people. And these could be geographical or conceptual. They're not necessarily geographically based. Essentially what we're looking for was what are the kind of units that people identified with, what connects them, and importantly, what's exciting, motivating, if not unique, at least ownable, and definitely differentiating, because we couldn't have 8 teams with the same identity. And that's challenging, especially when we're talking about youth culture that exists so much in a digital space that can be so global, that it can be difficult to isolate specific elements of identity that are specific to one particular place or region. So this might sound quite esoteric. Just to give you a practical example from sport, if you want. If you take Manchester United as a team, or Manchester United as a brand, more importantly in this instance, there is an iconography, obviously, the red shirt, the red devil, but also there is a mythology, a set of stories, an identity, a set of values that combined people in Salford, Solihull or Singapore to all be Manchester United fans and to have some sort of agreement as to what that means and how their team and how the club behaves. And that's what we were looking to build literally from scratch. So we're going to show you a short film now, which will showcase the methodology, the richness of the data that we managed to collect, qualitatively, ethnographically, and quantitatively.
This I would say defines Salisbury at the moment. I think it's a smile, probably.
And the research I met was Annabelle. She was asking me about my area and what do I identify with and what does London represent to me. We was talking about a bunch of stuff.
Hi, this is my first diary entry.
Like I remember being really little and sat in Grandma and Grandpa's old house singing Glory Glory Man United, and that was like a big thing. And I remember all my cousins being taught that as like the first songs that they could sing, and it was like a massive thing. Nothing for cricket. I think it shows the diversity for the area. I remember when Conrad first told me that it was about cricket, I kind of rolled my eyes thinking, oh, really?
I tend to associate it with older people. Always seeing people asleep in the stadium.
It doesn't seem like it's fun. Generally think that cricket is more targeted for the rich people and not for the working class.
It just isn't one of the cool things. It's like when you're at school or college or uni or you're with your friends, you're talking about football, talking about basketball, boxing, MMA. Like cricket is literally the last sport. You talk about tennis if you talk about cricket.
I mean, how else are you supposed to get out of that if you don't speak to young people? So I appreciate what, I think it just shows how serious that they're taking it if they want to actually find out what younger people are looking for.
So as with any project, data collection is only one step, a stepping stone into what for us was an iterative process of many stages of analysis, of creative development, of forensic quantitative analysis and evaluation. Ultimately, what we were able to provide were, in the first instance, a set of potential territories. Here we've got examples for Manchester, that we then worked alongside the ECB and Future Brand, the creative and strategic brand development agency, to work up into a number of possible routes, creative routes that again we tested quantitatively in very forensic detail, ultimately giving us executional guidance for each team and a positioning statement that form the creative and strategic briefs that were used by Future Brand to develop the team brands and the team identities, and also to help with the competition master brand. And it's important to say that what you're seeing today, even this template and the visual identity that you're seeing today, is actually a product of informed by our work. It wasn't this when we first received this brief. We've helped create this. I'm going to pass back to Samuel, who's going to finish up by talking to you about the impact.
Thanks. I think ultimately the easiest way to show the impact is initially visually. So I'm just going to play a short film to just show something we're incredibly proud of, which is the 100 tournament, which will be coming out next year.
It's never been done before in British sport. These guys in the 8 box have put together a squad using a draft system. Wonderful strike.